leave your mind running circles again, second guessing every word you said. Take a breath, reset your track. You don't need to hold yourself back. Stop overthinking, start connecting. Confidence maxing.
All right, here we are. It's another day. You're here, I'm here. Welcome to another episode of Confidence Maxing Live. So on our show today, I'm excited about this show. It's going to be a good one. We're going to be talking about brain rot, concern versus control, and power washing. So let's dig in with our very first item. So this article was helpfully shared by Owen Gregorian on X. Short video addiction is linked to lower life satisfaction through loneliness and anxiety. This is from Eric W. Dolan from SidePost. And they did a study, and they found that like the average age of the person in the study across 234 university students, 183 women, 51 men, they found that students that engaged in a lot of short form video platforms, like think your TikTok, Reels, Shorts, that kind of thing, they reported lower life satisfaction, and they tracked these changes over 3 months from February to May of 2025, and these people were spending an average of 2.5 hours per day on short form video platforms, and the results were that higher short video addiction at the start of the study. So they did the study in two waves. At the start of the study, they found that these people are spending a lot of time on these platforms. They found that higher short form video addiction at the start of the study predicted increased loneliness 3 months later. Higher loneliness in the first instance was linked to elevated anxiety in the follow-up, the second instance of the study. Elevated anxiety was associated with a noticeable drop in life satisfaction by the end of the study. The effect was indirect and sequential, so short-form video addiction led to loneliness, led to anxiety, lower life satisfaction. Now, one thing to always point out in studies like this is that it could be that the short-form video directly led to those outcomes. It could also be that the type of person that was selected for the study had lower life satisfaction in the beginning anyway. So because of that, they gravitated towards more short form videos for an average of 2.5 hours a day. But one thing is for sure, that it does not take much to understand, is that the more time per day you're spending on just swiping for another video, what are you sacrificing for that short-term hit of dopamine? You're sacrificing any other things that you could be doing. It doesn't really matter what it is. You could be working out, you could be scheduling time with friends, you could be starting a business, you could be doing a ton of things, right? And so my hunch on the lower life satisfaction front is simply that people understand. They may not even really be able to verbalize it, but they understand on a deeper level, like, hey, they understand some version of, I'm wasting my life doing this. And I think that may be part of what you see here. And so this goes back to a conversation we had a couple of days ago, where if you find yourself overly sampling the algorithms and the apps that are overly addictive, you can delete them off your phone. Doesn't mean they have to stay deleted, but you can delete them for 24 hours and see how you feel. What if you did that? So that's our first item. Our second item is from a good follow on X. His name is Doc Hypnosis. And he says, I am hypervigilant about keeping these spheres in balance in my own life. And the spheres he's referring to 3 circles that are concentric. You've got the smallest circle is control, and then the next circle around that is influence, and then the outer circle is concern. He says, I am hypervigilant about keeping these spheres in balance in my own life. Quote, why aren't you upset about X right now? Well, probably because XYZ is neither in my sphere of control nor in my sphere of influence yet. I treat concern, the outermost circle, like I treat money. And I don't have an unlimited budget. Spend it where it makes the most sense. And so what I think is pretty interesting about this actually is I've drawn versions of this circle in my own life. And it's absolutely true where very few things actually have your direct control. It's a lot more likely that your direct control is immediate things in your life that you have just a lot of agency over. The next circle out, influence, so you can indirectly control these things. You don't have complete control of them, and so the outcome is absolutely not assured. And then concern, you might have things that you are concerned about, but you don't have influence or control over those things. And so a lot of someone's life could be, I'll say it, wasted over being overly concerned about things that they can not influence and not control. And think about the knock-on effects of that. I mean, one knock-on effect would be, wouldn't if you spend every waking hour concerned about the current thing, wouldn't you feel helpless? Wouldn't you feel like a really palpable sense of there's nothing I can do? Whereas the more time you spent, if we're just thinking kind of percentages, if you spend the majority of your time in the outermost circle thinking about stuff that's just concern but not in your influence or control, I think it's natural that would lead to a feeling of helplessness. But if you spent most of your time on things that you could control, you'd feel a lot of agency, and you'd feel a lot of control over those factors, and you'd feel kind of a lot of sovereignty over your own life, and say, hey, well, I'm taking care of things that I can control. And guess what? You wouldn't feel you wouldn't feel helpless at all. You wouldn't feel like a bottle in an ocean that's just bobbing and weaving with all the tides and stuff. And so where it gets tricky is influence, because you have to delineate, am I just concerned about something that I have no influence over, or am I spending my influence bucks, you might say, and I can eventually control those things. And I think in baseball, there's a term that the tie goes to the runner. I think in a situation like this, the tie goes to concern, not influence. And so I would rather default to, that's just not something I have influence over, because the more things that I can put under the umbrella of control and influence, the happier I'll be, because I feel like I have a lot of domain over those areas. Cool. So my question for you would be, where in your own life are you concerned about something that you don't have influence or control over? And if you find that that's the case, what would it be like? What if you, again, for 24 hours, you just said, hey, I'm gonna give that up for 24 hours and see how it feels. Uh, I think a lot of people probably be quite a bit happier when it comes to giving up things that they don't have control over. So those are the top two stories today. The next item here that we're going to spend the bulk of our time on. So I'm not going to go into specific details, but I've got a younger family member who is interested in starting a pressure washing business, and um, I I was either gonna send this person a video, but I thought, well, if I'm doing that, I could probably talk through this on the live stream, and it's probably going to help more than just this individual, right? And so uh, here is what I would do if I was, and this is going to be applicable to a lot of people that are starting businesses and uh, just trying to get a foothold. And um, how do you talk to people, and how do you go about the whole process, right? My background is I joke that every business owner is in sales, and I think that's true. And so if you factor that in, I've been in sales for 21 years in varying forms, right? Um, and I've had at this point over 100,000 conversations with people over the last 21 years. It's probably a lot more than that. I just stopped counting a while back. Um, so here are my tips for my family member and maybe yours for starting a pressure washing business. So the first thing, before you even get your equipment, right? There are a bunch of pressure washers out there. I won't lie to you and say I've looked into it deeply, but they can range anywhere from like $120 to, you know, probably 500 or 600, you know, based on what you're getting, and they'll probably go even higher than that, right? So what I would do before I even invest in the equipment, I would look at my neighborhood on Google Maps, and I would look at every single house. I would confirm that every house has a driveway, which probably every single one of them does. And I would say to myself, okay, picking a random number here, but say there are 20 houses in your neighborhood. And then on a Saturday, I would say, okay, well, I'm going to go talk to every single person in the neighborhood. And I don't even have a power washer, don't have any equipment, right? And here's how I would do it. I would I wrote down here in my notes, I would wear church clothes. And what I mean by that is I would dress as nice as I possibly could. Now that means within reason, right? If I have a suit, I'm not going to be wearing a suit, right? Like I'm not going to be wearing a suit to a door knock. But I personally I'd wear a button-up shirt. I'd wear a tie. I would wear a tie. I would wear nice pants, nice shoes. Why, you might ask? Why can't I just wear, a hoodie or whatever? Well, the way you're dressed, I'll back up a second. The first impressions are made within 1/10 of a second, and they're sticky. They're incredibly sticky. And so that means it's difficult for people to change their mind once they've made a first impression. And so what that means also is that people start forming their first impression of you before they even see you. Your first impression is mostly, not all, but mostly made when they look at you through like the peephole in their door, right? They look at you through that, and then they're already making a determination of like, hey, what do I think about the situation? Because humans, like, the one thing that we're really good at is creating narrative and creating stories and sticking to those stories. So I would wear church clothes, right? here's what I would also take. I would also take a clipboard. Why? Because uh, this shows. I mean, okay, so what will you even have on the clipboard? Well, you may have some printouts of like your phone number or something that they can text, or uh, maybe information about what kind of things you power wash and whatnot. All that's fine. You could have that clipped to the clipboard. I'd also have uh, a piece of paper where I've kind of plotted my route along the neighborhood. I would probably have every person's address in columns, and so I would have that person's address already kind of locked and loaded, and then after each conversation, I'd be able to write down the person's name, and I'd be able to write down what they're interested in or not interested in. So that's what's on the clipboard. Why do I have the clipboard? Well, it shows, it communicates. Again, this is a nonverbal thing. It communicates that you're organized. And this also goes into, if they're looking at you, you're dressed nice, you've got a clipboard. Oh, okay, this young person looks like they have their act together. That's ultimately what you're wanting to communicate is, hey, I'm not just some kid in a hoodie, right? I've dressed nice. I've taken the care to organize some notes, and I'm actually thinking about this thing. And think about the outsized benefit of that. A clipboard. Your Sunday best. It's free. Like, it's free if you already have a clipboard at your house. If you don't have a clipboard at your house, you can get one for $5, right? So that's the attire part of it. What do you say? Like, you ring the doorbell. I think I would start from, what's your mindset heading into these initial set of 20? Of course, I'm just using 20 as a convenient number. Maybe you have more people in your neighborhood. Maybe expand to a couple more neighborhoods. Maybe make it even 100. Don't get hung up on the numbers. But what's your mindset heading into these 20? Well, my mindset is, I'm just looking to find out information. There's an old saying that is something like, if you want money, ask for advice. If you want for advice, ask for money. And what does that mean? It means that if it becomes apparent that you're just stopping by to say hi and introduce yourself and talk about how, hey, in the next few weeks, I'm going to be starting a power washing business. I just wanted to come by and say hi and talk to you a little bit about what I could do for you. There's no pressure there. There's no it's not like you're showing up there with a power washer and sort of putting them on the spot, or having them kind of go through the mental thoughts to make a buying decision right there. You're warming them up. Like, you're warming them up and say, hey, I offer the service. I'd be happy to do X, Y, and Z for you. And that's a really easy way for the person to get used to the idea, introducing the idea of, oh, well, great, there's a kid in the neighborhood that can do this. This is great. It'll give me 4 or 5 hours back on a Saturday, right? So your mindset heading in is, I'm just looking for information. I'm sort of looking for soft commits of who's interested, who's not interested. And what's beautiful about this is, I don't think this will happen, but say that you just got no takers. Like, say that you got no takers, which is, in my opinion, unlikely. Think about how wonderful that is, because you didn't spend, however much money on a pressure washer and soap and equipment or whatever it is that you're doing, right? You didn't spend any of that money. And so great, fantastic. You learned that what you were offering is not what the market wants. Now, the reason I don't think that's likely is because everybody tends to pressure wash at some point, and they typically, some people enjoy doing it, but no one likes taking the time to do it, right? So really, what you're saving people is less the pressure washing. It's more you're saving them time. You're saving them time that they have to take out of their already busy weekend, where they come home from a work week, and then great, they've got 2 or 3 or 4 hours of pressure washing. They don't want to do that. So you're what are you doing once you ring the doorbell? You ring the doorbell. You okay, well, I'll go super granular. You go up to the door, you ring the doorbell, take 2 steps back, 2 big steps back. Maybe you step off the, if they have steps, you step off the steps or whatever. Why do you do this? This dials down the intensity of the interaction. Think about if someone that you didn't know rang your doorbell and they were just like right there at the door frame. That it would feel too intense, right? It's just too much. You're too close. So I would take a couple of big steps back, and wait. They'll answer the door. Hey, can I help you? Hey, my name's blank. You give them your name. Maybe you shake their hand. Maybe you don't. You don't have to. Maybe that comes at the end. But you say something along the lines of, "Hey, I'm walking around the neighborhood. I just live down the road, and I wanted to let you know that I'm starting a pressure washing business in the next few weeks. And so what I'm doing right now, I'm just walking around the neighborhood and seeing who of our neighbors is interested in having their driveway and walkway pressure washed. Now, depending on what you're offering, driveway, walkway pressure washing is great, fantastic. I've been seeing some stuff lately about pressure washing people's garbage cans. That might be fantastic as well, because, like, believe me, nobody wants to take time out of their Saturday or Sunday to wash their trash can. And that will be a good add-on service of, like, I can do your, and I'm making up numbers here, so you have to research. I have no clue what pressure washing would run, but say you say something like, I can do your driveway and your walkway for $50, and it'll be good for probably however long. It'll be good for another year. But I can add on your trash can for another 25 or another 30, whatever it is. And then they're like, oh, okay, well, I can stack these things, and then I might mention that, like, probably a driveway this size and doing the trash can, that's probably going to save you 3, 4, 5 hours, something like that. And so I would love to give you that time back. And then now you're starting to get to the really heart of what you're really selling. So what is what's your body language, what's your energy, what's your voice tone, all that kind of stuff? Well, and I'm going to get super granular here because you and other people may appreciate it. We're going to make eye contact with the people that we're talking to, right? Where our energy level is, it's going to be a higher energy level than we're used to, right? Why? Well, the reason is because when we enter a conversation with higher energy, we're signaling to the other person how they can interact with us. This is straight out of my book. This, for readers, this is chapter 9 of my book, Enthusiasm Sparks Enthusiasm. So you're going to be a little higher energy. Hey, I'm Name. I live down the road, and what I'm doing today is I'm walking around, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't mean that you have to be high energy for the entire interaction, even though you may be. It just means that you have to be higher energy for the first little bit of the interaction. So say that probably the best version of an interaction is probably going to go something like you introduce yourself, you start talking about your plan. They seem interested, so they start talking about, well, I've got all this, and as long as you're out, I would like you to do kind of the back patio and all that kind of stuff too. Would that be something that you're interested in? So you might even walk around the property a little bit and just look at what needs to be done. You don't have to be bouncing off the walls high energy past the first 60 seconds. That's just not something that you necessarily have to do, but we really want to manage that first little bit of the interaction. Eye contact, higher energy. We're dressed in our Sunday best. We've got a clipboard. We're making notes. We're offering to save them time. And we're providing services that are going to make their lives better because they don't have to worry about pressure washing or cleaning their trash can. And so all that's a pretty good deal. And so after you make this initial run of 20, by then you'll kind of like the cool thing is, because these interactions they're all going to be different, but they're all going to be similar enough where you'll start to develop a rhythm. And by the end of 20, you may feel so good that you're like, oh, well, maybe tomorrow I can go to the neighborhood over and I can do a round of 20 around there as well. Great. Because things get easier the more times you do them. And by then, what you'll probably have at the end of 20, you'll probably have some number of people that are interested. And what's really nice then is say that you do your first 10, and I'm, again, making up numbers here, but say you do your first 10, you got 5 people that are interested. Fantastic. Then your next 10, you can say, oh, I've, hey, I'm Name, I'm going around, here's what I'm doing. I've already got a few people on my list, and I wanted to see if I could add you to the list, or you'd be interested in something like this. I've still got some spots free in my schedule. And we're getting a little bit more advanced, but not really that advanced. By saying I've got a few more spots in my schedule, you're introducing scarcity of like, oh, his schedule's already filling up. I better get in. It shows social proof, where we can't mind read, but we can infer that, okay, well, most likely thinking some version of, oh, well, other people in the neighborhood are doing it. I don't want to be the only person with a non-power washed driveway. And like every time they see their neighbor's trash can that you soap and watered and pressure washed, then they're like, I bet it's nice to have a nice trash can, right? And so there's a little bit of FOMO, a little bit of missing out, right? And so that's, again, part of the reason why we have our clipboard is we're kind of keeping track. And like, you could even look down at your clipboard and say, well, I've got like 10, 15 people signed up so far. I can get you added to my list. And then after I get the pressure washer in a couple weeks, then I'll start making rounds over the weekend and get it knocked out. And then you kind of moved on from selling to scheduling. Yeah, I think that this would be a great business for a young person to start in the summer, for sure. So I'll recap for you. You're going to wear your Sunday best. You're going to have a clipboard. You're going to walk around to every house in your neighborhood before you buy the pressure washer. You're going to ask people, you're going to introduce yourself. That's the primary goal. Primary goal is just introduce yourself to every single person in the neighborhood. You're going to be making eye contact. You're going to ring the doorbell. You're going to step back 2 big steps. You'll introduce yourself. Tell them what you're there for. Your energy level is going to be higher than you think it needs to be. and then you're going to see if they're interested, and you can, if they are interested, great. You can go ahead and mark them down and try to get something scheduled. If they're somewhere in the middle where I might be interested, great. I'll stop back by once I have the power washer, and then you got an excuse to stop back by. And then if they're not interested, you just mark them off. Maybe you circle back around, 6 months from now or something like that. Or you hand them one of your things that you printed off. Like, well, if you change your mind, here's this. Here's my number. You can call me or text me. Fantastic. And other than that, that's my advice. And so applicable to my younger family member, also applicable to anyone else out there who wants to start a pressure washing company, wants to do a little door-to-door selling and sailing through the wonderful world of entrepreneurship. If you have any questions about this, feel free to hit me up on the socials at the Jeff Callahan. Other than that, that's today's show. I had fun talking this through, and hopefully you had fun listening as well. I think you know what's coming next. It's the jingle that is sweeping the nation, that's inside your head, and comes from this book, or inspired by this book, Confidence Maxing, which is available on Amazon, available on Audible. And other than that, I will talk to you tomorrow.
If your mind's running circles again, second guessing every word you said, take a breath, reset your track. You don't need to hold yourself back. Stop overthinking, start connecting.